This week, public remarks by people involved in political leadership got a lot of us very upset. The charming Jo Marney, ex-girlfriend of the UKIP party leader, revealed, not for the first time, that there are people in this country who see black people as ugly and the forthcoming royal wedding as a process of tainting royal blood. Donald Trump managed to simultaneously offend anyone with small children who now ask what a certain word beginning with S and ending in hole means, people from African nations, a mere 15% of the entire world's population, and people with immigrant backgrounds, which is basically all Americans. Why are we all so surprised at these remarks? I wasn't. In fact, I was relieved. Both Trump and Marney were just declaring loudly the ignorance so many people, including politicians, celebrities and the media, have thought quietly. Now that their comments are out there, it's so much harder for anyone to be in denial about the existence of these views and their influence. And perversely, that may in fact be a good thing.
I mean, I take huge issue with what you just said there. It's declaring loudly the ignorance of many, many people. I mean, you're basically saying there that there are whole swathes of this country who are racist, which is absolutely not true. And you know, the insinuation that people have treated Meghan Markle in any other way that's positive. The media, for instance, the insinuation is that the media have treated her badly. And you're saying that the media have echoed what she called Jo Marney has said. What she said was Meghan Markle is ugly, that her seed will taint the royal family, that we don't want other races and cultures to invade ours, that she's a gender equality, something beginning with T, and that she's a dumb little actress no one's ever heard of. I have heard no one in this country, in the media or anyone else, come close to saying or thinking those vile comments. In fact, I will talk about the media in the sense that I think they have everything. They have welcomed her. They've been positive. Everything she has talked about her race more than anyone else, and the media have reported that faithfully in the most empowering way, I think. And I think if anyone in this country thinks about Meghan Markle, they think about the fact that they think about her ethnicity in a very, very positive way. You said something that you said recently. You said, after this engagement, now it will not be possible to argue that being black is incompatible with being British. And that's the reaction I see from almost everyone in this country. The fact that someone from an ethnic background is in the royal family. You also said in another piece, I've been reading up about it this week.
Thrilled.
You said, same piece actually, you said that you grew up feeling that the monarchy was fundamental to Britishness, but the Britishness they represented excluded you. Now it doesn't exclude you. And it's fantastic. And to actually say that this is the ignorance of lots of the views, these views represent the views of lots of people in this country, I think it's really insulting to the people of this country who have done nothing but adore Meghan Markle.
Well, first of all, thank you for reading and citing so many articles.
Well, it took a lot to get through it all, but I did.
The article includes the phrase "sucky up" to the royal family.
I'm so pleased that I've coined a new word today. So, having read my articles, Carol, you'll know that I massively welcome the coming royal wedding and the fact that
you do, but you're saying everyone else in this country
not
doesn't.
Everyone else. But Carol, when
huge swathes.
First of all, let me ask you a question.
Right.
Where do you think Jo Marney's views come from? Do you think they come out of nowhere, out of thin air?
No, I think what she said was vile.
But where do you think she got those ideas?
What do you mean, where do I think they came? They came from her head. They came from what she believes in, what she thinks. But you can't say that what she thinks...
where do you think she gets those thoughts
Oh, you think that everyone
beliefs?
else in this country has...
No, and I didn't say everyone anything, Carol. I didn't say everyone is racist either. You put those words into my mouth.
You said loudly the ignorance by so many people, you said. So many people.
I said ignorance, first of all.
You said ignorance by so many people.
Surely
you haven't answered my question, by the way.
Well, I don't know where it comes from. How do I know where her views come from?
It didn't take... Did it take what President Trump said and what Jo Marney said for you to realise that? Unfortunately, there is, and I kind of find for Carol a little bit here, please God, it's a decreasing number, but there is always going to be a bunch of people in this country. You sure didn't need to hear those remarks for the light to go on over that, did you?
Well, you say that, Nick, but so I'll answer what both of you are saying. I think we often congratulate ourselves in this country for being tolerant, a word which I have an issue with, by the way, because if you think about tolerance, what it actually means is that you look a bit brown and you eat different food, but I'm going to put up with you being in my environment. Think about what tolerance means. It's almost like I'll do you a favour by accepting you. Why do you need to be tolerant to accept that there are people around you?
Because there was a time when people weren't tolerant, and the reason that, yes, but that's
what
now,
I'm getting.
That's not now.
All right, Carol.
And you don't give us credit. You know, another thing you said about you know, in that same piece, you said that the royal family was the antithesis of diversity. It isn't now. Time has moved on.
Yes.
People's views have changed. That's a fantastic
I mean, you're
thing.
citing what I've said, so I agree with you.
It's a fantastic thing. It's a fantastic thing, but you seem to still be sniffing since there's a huge sways of this country.
I'll bring everyone else in, but just to finish responding to you, I think what you're saying about the media welcoming Meghan Markle and the royal wedding, I think now it's more or less true, which is wonderful, and that's why
that's not true.
That is not true. Carol, Prince Harry issued a statement, an unprecedented statement for royal, himself pointing to the racism in the media coverage when his relationship with Meghan Markle was first announced. So if you think I'm a fantasist, then you have to say that Harry is a fantasist as well, because he called out the racism that had been, and it was not a couple of remarks. I'm not. It was a litany of media coverage that had incredibly.
Go on, come on.
So anyway, Michelle.
Oh God, no, we was getting into it there. We was enjoying ourselves.
Carol hasn't been reading the same newspapers as me, like the Daily Mail.
But your question is a valid question, where did that come from? And therefore it's not only her, there are others. But I think all you can do is say, over a period of time, is it changing? And in my lifetime, and certainly over the last 40 years, I mean, if you go to football matches, by and large, there are not racist chants any longer. There are not racist. If you went 30 years ago, I mean, it was really unpleasant. People threw bananas. That's the change. Now, some of those people who now no longer throw bananas still racist? Yeah. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, Nick's point is right. There are still going to be racist people, but it's changing with generations.
Has evolved.
Which is great.
Which is great.
But also, the point that I'm making here is that, and I, of course, I unequivocally welcome the change. And my life experience is completely different to the experience of people 30 years older than me who got chased down the street by people with bats trying to hospitalise them because they were black. I've never experienced that, and thank God. Meghan Markle is another, in my view, hugely symbolic step towards progress in our society. But the point that I'm making, Carol,
is reflected in the media.
Jo Marney is not the only person who thinks this, and furthermore, it doesn't come from a vacuum. It comes from a long history where overt racism turned into coded racism, and that is evident in the initial press reports, not just 1 year ago.
And you can't racism everywhere.
Thank you. That's my point.
But I'm telling you, I don't see colour in people. I don't regard someone as being different if their skin tone is one and another. To me, just people are people. And where I struggle a little bit is I feel like I'm constantly having stuff pushed onto me that makes me consider racism in places that I never even saw it. So, for example, one of the most recent things is that H&M sweatshirt. I saw this little kid in a sweatshirt, cute little sweatshirt, forget about it, moved on.
This is the black lad modelling a T-shirt with the expression cheeky little monkey.
Yeah, it caused
clever little monkey.
I know what you're saying is well-meaning, so that's fine. Because do you think, as a white person in a society where the majority of people are white, you have a good understanding of the ways in which race affects people psychologically? Because when you say you don't see racism, Michelle, I wouldn't expect you to see it, if I'm quite honest with you, because it's not your experience. I wouldn't imagine you get othered regularly. I wouldn't imagine that you carry and experience the baggage of being in a country that colonised on a white supremacist ideology other countries for 400 years. You know, and it's very easy to say that if you don't experience it.
Do you feel it?
I have experienced it. I've just written a book about the experience, and not as a victim.
How often, Afua? Seriously, how often do you experience it?
Daily experience. And this is the thing, and I don't want to get not overt racism, but acts of othering, Carol. Yes, microaggressions, subtle prejudice that often comes from very well-meaning people who mean no harm, who don't see themselves as racist.
Therefore, it's not racism. And, if it's well-intentioned, it's not racism.
One of the problems, I think, is the idea that I don't see race, which is exactly what you're saying, which, again, Michelle, very well-intentioned. I can see what you're saying. You are distancing yourself from a history where people judged each other based on race and were prejudiced against people because of their race, right? You're distancing yourself from that, saying, I have no part in that. That's great,
I don't see anyone as different or unequal. I just see people the same.
That doesn't mean to say that other people don't. because you.
Well, there are two things. There are two things. One, you
I
are.
don't speak for the whole
when you say
nation,
you don't see something, you are blinding yourself to reality. We live in a world where racial injustice is a structural part of our reality. So if you choose not to see it, you are blinding yourself to something that exists.
Let me just correct this.
And secondly, this is important too. Let me just finish my point. Secondly, my heritage as a black person is not something I want you to be blind to. It's part of who I am. So by saying you don't see it, you are blinding yourself to something I see as positive. And when people do that, it makes me question whether they still think it's a negative thing, that it's better not to see.
My sentence is very quick. It's not that when I say I don't see it, I don't feel towards you anything other than what I feel towards you. So when I say I don't see it, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying I don't have those thoughts anywhere in my body, and a huge number of other people do not either.